Hey guys, I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Mpho, and over here we usually chat all things business, careers, properties, and sometimes a little bit about life. Today we're having a conversation about some of the lessons that I have learned in my 8 years almost working in corporate SA. Now, just before we get started, I do feel like I need to set the tone for this video. It won't necessarily be to just bash corporate SA. We will bash it, but we'll also take the mirror, look at ourselves and see how we can be better, see how we can make our lives, suited for the corporate world. And I know it's a 50-50 thing. Corporations are also doing a lot of work to be more inclusive and to create an environment that's more conducive for many of us to play in. But we also need to come to the party. So how do we take that? How do we take who we are, how we've been raised, and come into these corporations that are actually quite frankly changing our lives, that are paying us good salaries, that are giving us nice livelihoods. So how do we thrive in those environments? Because I do believe we're meant to thrive. What's also important to note is that I'm sharing this for one main reason, maybe two. I feel like if I had known about some of these things in the beginning of my corporate career, it would have saved me time and it would have saved me some tears. Some of the tears were necessary to cry, but not all of them. So if I had known some of these things in the beginning, I would have cried less. And that's also why I'm sharing with you. I'm not going to assume that, if you look like me, you're probably learning these things the hard way. If you've already learned them, or you're still going to learn them the hard way, and I'd rather save you the time and tears. Right, let's get into it. 5 lessons I've learned in corporate now. The first one is that corporations were not made with people like you in mind. If you look like me, if this is how you look, corporations were not designed to make you happy. They were not designed, the systems and processes weren't designed to cater for someone like you. And if you think about the things that make you a good child, things that make you a good worker, things that make you a good woman, all of those things for the most part are contrary to what it takes to succeed in corporate. And I think many of us get into these spaces and we want to fight it. We want to sort of fit a square in a circle, and it doesn't work. Now, granted that corporations are going through a journey of changing and looking to be more inclusive, looking to be more accommodating, looking to make more people feel like they belong. And that's great and well. It's going to be a long journey. At the same time, there is also work that you can do to fit the space as well. And what I'm saying is not that you should assimilate. What I'm saying is that you should look at the things that you have learned that are standing maybe in the way of you and your career progression, and see what you can unlearn. Things like respectability, the things like you being humble, things like you not wanting to speak when you're not asked. All of those things are things that, we start unlearning. And it's not to say you lose your whole core values, right? It's to say that bring your best self, bring the self that is more confident, bring the self that is more outspoken to the corporate setting. Some of it will take time. I think we all see that, right? That's why we take things like Toastmasters to learn how to speak better. And I've already said that this conversation is not going to be about just bashing corporations. It's going to be about how we can make it better for ourselves, how we can create an environment, how we can actually, as corporations are coming towards us, also go meet them somewhere in the middle. So, like I said, there will be those social cues that you don't understand. There will be those social cues that you will have to learn. And you learn that through interacting more with your colleagues. You learn that through interacting more with the industry at large, with friends and whatnot. So yeah, the corporate world wasn't designed with you in mind. But at the same time, there's things that you can do to learn the language of corporation. I actually really do think of it like that. You're learning a new language, you're learning a new skill. And if you really want to learn the language and skill, you commit the time, you commit the resources, you commit the heart, you dedicate yourself towards learning that new language or that new skill. The second point is that your work does not speak for itself. Manuka Mate, I don't know if you guys know her, she started the series Your Corporate Hustle on Twitter Spaces, and it was so insightful. One of the things that she says is that your work does not speak for yourself. Your work does not have a mouth. And that is so true. Many of us think that if we just put our heads down and if we work, then somehow that's going to translate into being recognized and being promoted and things like that. Unfortunately, I do wish, as someone who doesn't like talking much, I do wish that things were that simple. I do wish it was a matter of you put your head down and you work and then you'll be promoted. But people need to hear you as much as they see you. People forget voices that they don't hear enough. I was listening to a podcast also with a gender woman. Nomdeni was speaking to Kgomotso, and what Kgomotso said was quite impactful to me. I think it's changed how I will see speaking about your work. She said that she advised that every quarter you should consider having a portfolio of evidence that you send back to your line manager or to whoever you're working with, whoever you're reporting to, showing them what you've done over the last 3 months. And I think I'm actually going to start doing this, because the idea of walking around and saying, this is just what I did, doesn't sit well with me. So I'm probably going to be one who looks at having this portfolio of evidence, showing the impact that I have had, showing the successes that I've had in the business, instead of just letting it, just doing the work and you forget about it. You also must speak for your work and speak about what it is that you are doing. I feel like that was a lot of words. So just to summarize, if you can't do the banker bros type of talk, I think do consider what Kgomotso is saying. Do have a portfolio of evidence that you send to your bosses, showing them exactly what you've done, what you're proud of, what some of those accomplishments were, and let them do the talking. They will know that you're not going to be the one making a noise down the corridor, but they'll also know that you actually are being impactful. You are actually delivering, because you will be showing it to them. The next point, and I think this is the one that I absolutely have beef with, is that your career depends on how likable you are. We don't like to admit this, but how likable you are, how people like you, how people interact with you impacts your career. People will promote people that they like. And I guess this makes sense because we are social animals. You will trust people that you like, and you promote people that you trust. So by virtue of that, the people that you promote will be people that you trust. Now, I'm not going to give corporations a break here, because we do need managers to go out of the way to hear voices that they don't usually hear, to pull people out who may be in their shell and whatnot. But now, as a person, make it your point to be liked. And if you think of how to be liked, just do things for people. Volunteer to help people out, and especially your bosses. Put your hand up and be the one that's genuinely interested in people. When you're interested in people, you will be helping them out. You'll be interested in helping them out. And as a result, they will also like you in return. So, that's to say that we've heard this thing with, I've got haters and whatnot. It doesn't work in corporations. You need people to like you, because if they don't like you, they're not going to recommend you for opportunities. And if that doesn't happen, then you don't grow in your career. And if that doesn't happen, you don't get the next role. So people promote people that they like. Your career depends just on how much likable you are. The fourth point that I want to bring today is that you matter just as much as you don't. So if you look at corporations, your existence, you as Mpho or you as whoever you are, your existence in that corporation matters, but at the same time, it doesn't. Corporate is such a big space, and I always say that, corporations are made of the little hearts. So you as an individual and many other individuals beating together to form that big corporate heart. Hopefully your role is key to the organization, but at the same time, there's other people who could potentially do that role as well. So, and I drive this point just so you never feel like you need to give so much to a corporation that it is at the expense of your own self. I've heard recently a quote where, it said that you are replaceable in a corporation, you're replaceable at work, but you're not replaceable at home. And that is very, very key. In a corporate, it's that big that as much as many of us have a role and we're all rowing together to make this machine go, at the same time, if we remove you out, we removed you out, another piece of puzzle will come in and add value as well. So you are important, but not that important. The next point that I want to mention is that ultimately you are the business and your employer is your client. If we think of entrepreneurs and how they have many clients, you as an individual are the business, and you have decided to give your time, your resources to serving one client. And that means that you deliver to that client, but at the same time, you command things like price, you deliver the value. And I feel like over time, maybe it's just always been the case of, design of work. We have outsourced so much of our development to organizations, and I feel like we're starting to see a lot of that being taken back as we become knowledge workers. And as much as me serving at a specific time is me serving an employer, what I gain will remain in my mind, and it remains my property as well. So don't outsource your development to an employer. Don't outsource your career growth to an employer. You need to be in charge of that, and you need to be driving that. You need to be in charge of marketing, in charge of branding, you're in charge of business development, all of those things. You are the business. You are the business, and your employer is just the client that you've decided to serve. I feel like we need that reminder, and we do need to take back our careers. So that's all I had to say. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I actually quite honestly enjoy watching a lot of this career content. So if you want more of it, let me know. I also enjoy making them. That's it for this video. I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, keep well.